Oh, today is a very exciting day. I usually wouldn't come to the office here in the evening, but today is the Apple event day, which means most likely the iPhone 14 will be announced. And I just couldn't miss it. I wanted to hear what are going to be the new specs in the iPhone 14. For me, the iPhone has become an essential tool that I really use every single day. I'm using it to connect with people, to organize my daily tasks, writing scripts, and the list goes on. Not only has it been a tool for my daily task, but as well, it's been a filmmaking tool. There's so many moments where I don't have my full camera set up along with me, but I just want to capture a moment that maybe I'll use in a video later for the future, and it's so easy and handy to capture it with the iPhone, especially the ultra-wide lens. You can really get away mixing ultra-wide footage with a mirrorless camera, especially when you're vlogging. So what am I hoping for in the iPhone 14? Well, there's three things I'm hoping for, and I'm curious whether or not they're gonna deliver. The first thing I'm hoping for is a new sensor in the ultra-wide lens. Like I said earlier, there's so many times where I don't have my mirrorless camera set up, but I want to capture a moment, so I'll often pull out my iPhone and film with the ultra-wide lens. And it's a great lens because you can kind of get away mixing the ultra-wide lens on an iPhone with a vlogging wide-angle lens on a mirrorless camera. But the only problem with the ultra-wide lens is that it doesn't perform very well in low-light situations, so you have to have very ideal settings when it comes to lighting in your environment in order to get good footage with the ultra-wide lens. So I'm hoping in the iPhone 14 they're gonna upgrade the ultra-wide lens. The second thing is I hope that they would improve cinematic mode. Now I love the fact that in the iPhone 13 they gave us this feature of getting really nice smooth bokeh in the shots, but it's not perfect. And I hope that in the iPhone 14 they would really work on making cinematic mode so good that you could actually mix it in with your mirrorless cameras. That's something I'm really looking forward to see what they'll do with the iPhone 14. And last but not least, I'm hoping they would update the camera app on the iPhone. There's a lot of times where I would like to have a little bit of more control with the camera app, and I know there are external apps like Filmic Pro, but the problem with using those apps is that you're not getting the same computational photography, especially with the dynamic range. So I would love that the camera app on the iPhone would have like a beginner mode and maybe a pro mode, and the pro mode would have just a few extra features, even as basic as white balance, because there's often times where I'm creating some stories for Instagram, for example, and the white balance is just off, and I wish I could just be able to change that right away in the camera app and get it dialed perfectly. So yeah, those are my three things. Ultra-wide sensor, lens, I'd love to see that improved, cinematic mode, and some flexibility in the camera app. And I think that would make the iPhone 14 an amazing tool for me, not only on a daily basis doing just tasks around the office, but as well as a filmmaking tool. I don't think that's too much to ask from Apple from the iPhone 14, so let's see if they're gonna deliver. All right, it's showtime. Need a Red Bull to keep me awake because I don't usually stay up this late, especially since our son Lennox was born. I've become a complete dad. But I'm really pumped. I'm really interested to see what's gonna be announced in the Apple event. Now, we just gotta stay tuned for what's gonna happen. That was the event. First thoughts, when I saw the talk about the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Plus, at first I was a little bit disappointed. Yes, we got 1 out of 3 for that. When it comes to my wishes, we have now better low light with the ultra wide lens. But other than that, I felt like the iPhone 14 is kind of more like the generic phone for everyone, and they talked a lot more about the selfie camera than anything else. So maybe the iPhone 14 is maybe more geared towards people who aren't intense photographers or filmmakers, and they just want an all-around great camera. So at first, when I was just hearing about the iPhone 14, I was kind of like, feel a little bit let down. But then I forgot there is the iPhone 14 Pro. And when they started talking about the iPhone 14 Pro, I was like, okay, there's some serious things going on there. So they have now the 48 megapixel camera with the quad sensor, and then combining the sensor with the photonic engine software. I love that about Apple and iPhones that they're obviously always making the hardware as best as possible, but they're bringing it together with the software to make it just leaps and bounds compared to all the other mobile phones out there. So now we essentially actually got 3 out of 3 for the things I was hoping. We got way better low light in the ultra wide camera. It's gonna be 3 times better in low light, which I'm really excited about. Cinematic mode now is going to be for 4K, and they're going to offer 24 frames per second, which I don't know why they didn't in the past, but now we get that. And the cinematic mode can be paired with the new action stabilization, which looked pretty intense. I can't wait to get my hands on the iPhone 14 Pro and take it filming my friends doing some action sports and just seeing, is it possible to film now with the iPhone 14 Pro and get that gimbal-like look without having a gimbal? Because I don't want to have a mobile phone with a gimbal. And, if I'm going to shoot with a mobile phone, I want it to be as lightweight and small as possible. I don't want to have to add a gimbal to get that gimbal-like smooth footage. So really excited to try out that action mode. As well, I was saying earlier that I would love to have a little bit more control over settings, and it seems like now with the Apple Pro RAW, we're getting a lot of control, and with the 48 megapixel camera and the photonic engine, on the photo side, things are gonna be just like so much crazier. So I'm really excited to get my hands on the iPhone 14 Pro. I probably will not get the iPhone 14, but I'll just go right away and get the iPhone 14 Pro. And I'm gonna be so excited to test out the new ultra wide lens, the cinematic mode, the action stabilization, and then I'm really excited to get back into photography. I think with Instagram and the focus more on the video side, I just haven't had a desire to take too much photos, but now with Vero, I'm very excited to start posting photos there. So I'm really excited to start shooting photos with the iPhone 14, see what kind of photos I can take with the Pro RAW and just the new cameras. Now we have 4 focal lengths. We have the ultra wide, the wide, a 24 millimeter, and then the 2 times telephoto. So really excited. At first I was kind of like, the expectation was up here, and then they talked about the iPhone 14 and it kind of dropped, and I was a little bit like, this was not as great as I thought. But then with the iPhone 14 Pro, all of a sudden I was like, okay, this is exciting after all. For those of you guys who did watch the Apple event, please comment below, what did you guys think about the iPhone 14? I thought it would be fun for me to kind of watch the event in real time, edit the video, post it out as fast as possible to connect with you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. It's late, so I'm gonna go head to sleep.